Thank you for staying with us. We continue with this now. The Western Cape Premier, Winde, announced changes to his provincial cabinet. The Education MEC Debbie Schäfer handed in her resignation to pursue a legal career in the UK. David Maynier will replace Schäfer. For reaction, I'm joined by Vanessa LeRoux, the founder of Parents for Equal Education SA. Vanessa, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Now, David Maynier replaces Debbie Schäfer as the province's Education MEC after she resigned on Thursday. A similar question to what I asked to Mohammed a short while ago. Let's hear your take on Schäfer's tenure, and what do you believe the MEC Maynier should be taking from her?
Hi, good day, and good day to the listeners. Thank you for having me. I've took note of the resignation of the MEC, and I must say, as a parent and activist, I was a little bit delighted about her resignation. She's shown us through the years that there's no consultation. She doesn't have an open door policy, and there's no political maturity when we address issues that face our communities. And hopefully MEC David Maynier would come in with a new attitude, with a fresh perspective. And I think at first he must acknowledge that even though they have painted this rosy picture about education in the Western Cape, we are actually in crisis. And if we acknowledge that there's a crisis, then we can work together. Then we can sit around the table and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because in no particular form or shape can it be okay for a foundation phase teacher to sit with 70+ children in one class. So I hope he can at first acknowledge there's a crisis. They have been singing all the praises for Ms. Schäfer, and I am particularly very glad that she's leaving. Hopefully we can now have a fresh perspective and a fresh approach to addressing these issues in the province.
Let's look at Maynier's own track record. He was the Western Cape MEC for Finance as well as Economic Development since 2019. Previously served as the DA's Shadow Minister of Defence and Military Veterans in 2009. He later moved on to serve as the opposition party's Shadow Minister for Finance back in 2015. Do you think that he's the perfect fit, especially in this education portfolio?
I'm actually a little bit concerned, and it's about the fact that I've asked the question yesterday. I was asking whether it is okay, or why is it always that we are faced with and many people will say race doesn't have a factor. Yes, race does have a factor, because if it's a person of color, that person would acknowledge the inequalities. That person would acknowledge that majority of the budget needs to go to poorer communities, disadvantaged communities. And I'm asking, why should it always be a privileged person that doesn't really understand our needs, our communities, and what we are faced with? We in the past we were met with some type of arrogance almost, like they don't sympathize with us, they don't really listen to us. There's no open door policy. So I'm equally cautious about this appointment. And I'm asking whether MEC David Maynier is going to treat our schools like it's just a figure in some economic spreadsheet, or will he really acknowledge and address our challenges and our fears?
Now, speaking about issues that may affect education, I spoke to Mohammed about this as well. There is this massive migration of people to parts of Gauteng as well as the Western Cape, which are more urbanized, which is forecast as well in the coming years. This will bring with it this rapid scale or scale-up of services. What impact do you think this will have on education?
Nanta, I'm always baffled by the excuse that migration is the issue why learners can't be placed. Migration is not the issue. Building schools is the issue. And that is not a priority. And we will keep on, and we as activists, I would have liked to appeal to activists to stop feeding into this nonsensical excuse that migration is the issue, because it's not. It's not. If you don't build schools and you close schools, and you don't replace them, you are bound to sit with this problem. So it's not a matter of migration. It's a matter of them not building schools. What they recently did is they are putting up these mobile classes, and you should see our school. I call it squatter school because that's exactly what it is. There's no space for children to breathe, think, and just be children because they refuse to build schools. Now they put up mobile classes, and they save money at the expense of our children. So I'm not feeding into this migration excuse and migration reason. Both schools, then we would see the problem will be solved. That's the whole issue because people migrate all the time. No one can stop me from going to KZN or Gauteng. If I'm a citizen in your province, you must provide the service that you're supposed to.
Right, and another trend that I want to speak about is, the performance of matriculants, especially in the Western Cape, or the overall general performance of schools in the province. For the matric pass rate is back above 80%, at 81.2% in 2001. This was indeed an improvement from the previous year's results when, for the first time since 2010, the province's pass rate slipped to 79.9%. What can Maynier take from this, and how can it help improve the results?
The Western Cape used to be used to take first place all the time. The fact that they are now second and third, and I predict it will be fourth. Not that I want it to be fourth. I want it to be first because it is our children. But if you don't invest in these children, if you don't give schools and teachers the necessary support, you are bound to drop. So whatever reason, they normally blame national government. I'm asking, like any other province, our province is receiving a budget. You wouldn't believe the non-school programs they spend millions of rands on. For instance, they have a bully program. How effective is this if we lose children every day? There's no psychological support for learners and teachers, and our learners and teachers are falling apart. They are under strain. I'm asking, what is the new MEC going to do to take this massive administrative role and burden that they place on teachers? What are he's going to do to lighten that? Because it's unnecessary. These are educators. We must leave them to be educators. Then we will see the improvement in the stats in our children and matriculants.
So if you had the ear of the new MEC, as we round up our discussion as well, what would you like to be top of his priority list?
Top of his priority list, he needs to build new schools.
Yeah.
He needs to divert majority of his budget to poorer schools, infrastructure, and appoint the new teachers that they've promised us, because they promised us in the beginning of the year 520 new teachers. We are still waiting for these teachers. We are asking, did they refer to the assistants, or are they referring to qualified teachers? Because if they refer to assistants, then they are taking us back to gutter education. That's what it is.
That was Vanessa LeRoux, the founder and coordinator of Parents for Equal Education SA, saying while she welcomes the appointment of David Maynier, she's also a bit cautious, also offering some advice on what should be top of mind for the new MEC for education in that province.